Oh, better than nothing, I guess.
Dennis, you weren't here last week, but we did recognize your 27 years of service. You have to unmute if you want us to hear what you're saying.
That was an ouch.
Ouch.
Hard to believe, 27. Holy smoke.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, our guest, one of our guest speakers, Briar, is having a hard time getting in.
Mm-hmm.
Are they teachers, Steve?
Briar is a teacher, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I thought so.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, John.
Morning, Ted.
Here.
We've got Tim as well. Excellent.
Hey, Tim, how are you
Like
doing?
Roche, Amy.
Hey, Rachel.
Oh, here comes Briar.
Jam?
Good.
Morning.
Morning, Pauline.
You got fancy jammies.
Jammy.
Success. Welcome, Briar.
Hi, hold on. Let me get my video going and there we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with Zoom this morning, but it was something.
Yeah, it just, oh my goodness. It just told me, that was my cat scratching me. Just told me that the host was already in another meeting. So
It was telling me that too, and I'm like,
Oh.
no, I'm not.
pretty sure I'm not.
Hey, Tim. Yoo-hoo.
Hi, Pauline. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim. Look at that. You're letting your hair grow in, Tim.
Yeah, it's under the choice.
So
Me
folks-
too.
We're having a heat wave. I was outside this morning, didn't even have to do my jacket up.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So Briar and Ashlyn, normally we get going at a few minutes after the bottom of the hour. So just let a few stragglers go in, then we'll get things going. And your bit is right up at the very start. Well, pretty close to the start. So.
Thanks for inviting me.
Well,
I
thanks
don't
for
usually
making
function at this time of morning, so
time.
I have coffee.
Perfect.
Good morning, all.
Morning, Joe.
Morning, Joe.
Hey, Renee. Nice
Hello,
to see
how are you?
Good to see you, Renee.
Yeah, see you too. Thank you.
Hi,
I'm back
Renee.
from. Hi,
Hey,
Linda.
Hi.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How you doing?
Good. Good. Hi, Steve.
Morning, all right.
Good to see you, Tim.
Yeah, for a change, eh?
Yeah,
Good.
it's good to see you.
Okay.
I just saw snow. Where did he go?
Well, he was here. He might have just slipped on the other screen because
Oh,
we're.
all right.
It's outside. The snow's outside.
Uh,
I thought he was coming indoors.
all right. Well, we may as well get things rolling, everyone. Thanks very much for joining. This is the well, it's Groundhog Day, and it feels like the movie. Here we are again on Zoom. Remember back when I was counting them, but this is the February 2nd edition of the Bowmanville Rotary Club meeting, 2021. Welcome to our guests. There'll be a more fulsome, well, I'll try and do a more fulsome introduction of Briar Ransberry and Ashlyn. As soon as we get things rolling, I'm going to let Lloyd in here. Want to recognize a couple things right on the upfront before we do our toasts. Yesterday was the beginning of 2 months of observances. First off, it's Black History Month. I think everyone knows what that entails. A chance for us to learn a little bit more about a culture that's often forgotten in history books. Diversity, equity, inclusion has obviously been a theme for us over the past few weeks. So take advantage to educate yourself this month. Also, February, Rotary International's theme is peace building and conflict resolution. All right, so it's a chance for us to focus on, as an entire organization, areas of the world that are torn apart by conflict, and try and find ways to help, alleviate, the suffering and bring it to resolution. So there's that. And now a few toasts. First, to Her Majesty, to the Queen,
Queen,
Green.
Spain,
to Canada,
Canada.
Canada,
and Rotary International.
Rotary
International.
It's not as much fun in the morning with water and not scotch. And now, Steve Burnett, I think you're on duty to do our invocation.
Good morning. Time is like a river. You cannot touch the same water twice because the flow that has passed will never pass again. Enjoy every moment in life.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you. Pauline, do we have any birthdays or anniversaries?
President Steve, we do have some celebrations. President-elect Amy is having a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Amy.
Birthday.
And also tomorrow, Joe and Juanita are celebrating many years of married bliss. And on February the 8th, Doug and Bev are celebrating their wedding anniversary too. So congratulations, everyone. Enjoy your celebrations.
And fantastic. Thank you very much, Pauline. Okay. So today we have two guests that are going to join us to share an experience. We know that kids have been, for the better part of a year, really, have been attempting to learn online, and our teachers have been struggling to quickly adapt and make the best of, quite frankly, what I'm gathering through my daughter is a lousy situation. So we thought it'd be good for us to get firsthand knowledge of that. So first off, we have Briar Ransberry, who is not only my neighbor, but and good friend, but a teacher at Bowmanville High School. She teaches English and history, amongst other things that she does in life, but that's what she does as a profession. So we've got Briar telling us the story from the teacher side of things. And we also have Ashlyn Nelson, who was brought to us by Rhonda Story, who's been helping our youth committee out. And Ashlyn is a student at Bowmanville High School, and will be sharing a little bit of her experience as a student during this time. So no pressure, Briar and Ashlyn. This is just a friendly conversation. We're all friends here. So over to you, Briar.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to chat about this. It was really interesting, actually, to reflect on my experiences. And I also reached out to our principal and somebody in guidance and one of the other teachers so that I could get a little bit more fulsome view than just my own sort of myopic view. And I also have a daughter who attends BHS, so I get her perspective and a little bit of her friends, and of course my students too. So I'm trying to kind of bring that all in. I did make notes because I'm a teacher, so that's what I do. Anyway, these are just sort of a compilation of thoughts from us, and Ashlyn may have a completely different experience than what I represent as student experience, and that's totally fine. She's probably right. The challenges, I sort of was trying to divide this into ideas about challenges and then things that are a little bit comforting, trying to take some positive in a situation that, as Steve said, is overwhelmingly negative in many, many ways, but you can always find some positives. So challenges have been, I would say the main one that everybody talks about from the teacher and administrator perspective is a complete lack of understanding about where we're going and where we're heading, what we're doing next week, tomorrow, in a couple months. We don't operate that way to, plan classes, plan courses, plan years. We start that stuff in September and before that. And so we haven't had that opportunity. We find out we're behind the media most of the time on any announcements about whether we'll be in school or out, or what the rules are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we don't even know the Ontario literacy test normally runs in March. We still don't know if that's running. Normally we'd be preparing for that starting last year, definitely starting in September. We still don't even know what that means. We heard through email that it might run for the kids who are in school, but not for the kids who are in the virtual school. But it would be running online, and online, I don't know how that will happen, since the online school has all of our technology and we don't have any in our school right now. So that has been challenging. And then, you know, our timetable has been redone 4 times, which is quite a task for a school of 1,000. Because we get transfers in and out to the virtual school. So then classes have to get collapsed and things like that. So that's been pretty challenging. We've had, contrary to what gets reported, literally no training for.
Oh, do we, is it
You're
just
hit
me, or
there.
did we lose Briar?
She's
I
frozen.
know. And so then Zoom comes off. Do you not
There.
hear me when I do that? Okay.
Oh, we got you now, Briar.
Okay.
Yep.
So, you know, we haven't had any training for it at all. We just look up YouTube videos and we crowdsource questions to one another most of the time. So that takes a really, really long time. I spent an hour trying to figure out how to get kids into groups on a Google Meet, which eventually worked and was great, but it's, you know, something that would take 4 seconds in class takes an hour. So we're getting a lot of burnout. A lot of teachers are saying they've never been this tired, especially at this time of the year. It's actually kind of scary. I think probably this is a similar situation to a lot of people. There's very little delineation, that Groundhog Day effect. There's not a lot of delineation in your day. And so we find ourselves, I find myself answering student questions when I get up at 3 a.m. to use the washroom, because in a lot of cases, that's when students are working. They're not always attending school and things like that. They're staying up late. And so if I don't answer them in the middle of the night, then they don't hear from me for 24 hours. And so your job never ends, which is exhausting. And you feel like you need to respond to them because you want to keep them engaged and stuff. So that's tough. You know, there's like physical pain of actually just sitting. I'm not accustomed to sitting down all day and being in one spot. Anybody who's had their life flipped onto Zoom probably recognizes that too. Interestingly, I think that the kids are, maybe my daughter for sure, finding the opposite right now, that while they're online and they're sitting on cameras, they can actually get up and move around their homes and go to the washroom and things like that. There's a little bit more freedom that way. Whereas when we were in school during this whole pandemic situation, there's no get up and go to your friend's desk. There's no take a wander through the halls, that kind of stuff. They're very much in one seat all day, every day. Which is pretty tough, I think, for them. You know, our brains need that delineation. All day, every day is really tough. So I don't know if you guys know this, but we're teaching right now one class all day, every day for a week, and then another class all day, every day for a week. So that is a terrible way for kids to learn. You cannot develop skills. I teach English. You can't develop skills that quickly in English or any like math, French, those skills-based courses. Our brains need to learn a little bit and then sleep, and then learn a little bit and then sleep. And so that's gone. You get a lot of stress with kids and teachers about the spread of COVID at school. We've been pretty lucky. BHS, as far as I know, has had 3 cases. But the thing is that there's, once it's in the school, that's going to be really tough because there's no distancing in classrooms. Like we are in a lot of classes would have about 28 kids. And I don't know if you guys know BHS, but the classrooms are pretty small. So in many classrooms, there is like the back of a desk and then, the back of a chair and the next person's desk. And that's it. And they're in there unmasked at lunch if they don't choose to leave. So there's no distancing that way. So for a teacher who feels responsible for their class and worried that, you know, if an outbreak happens, may it not be my kids, and you know, I know that they wouldn't blame us, but really in a way feel like it's your fault. You're the one in charge of that room. That's an awful lot of stress. And kids feel that too. You know, they go to the bathrooms and they tell stories of kids in there sharing vapes. They're taking their masks off. We can't have administrators in the bathrooms all day, every day. You you know, and congregating in groups without masks outside. So the kids get stressed about that too. Oh my gosh, like the mental health piece is actually in the school seeming a little bit better, oddly, this year, but a lot of our kids with severe mental health problems opted to go to the virtual school. So from guidance perspective anyway, the guess is that maybe the kids who already had sort of those preconditions are there rather than in our building as much. But you do see online is not a great way for people to operate. You know, kids, especially teenagers, they need those friends, they need those connections. So they're struggling. I'm gonna scroll down, so you're gonna lose me for a second. And, you know, hopefully talk about some positive things in a bit. So a lot of equity issues are a real concern for administrators and staff, especially Wi-Fi access. So our school collects from a pretty large area, catchment area. So especially people in rural areas, but even in town, I find even myself, I've got a son in university, he's going to Ryerson from his bedroom, and my daughter, of course, BHS, and then I'm trying to teach. That's a major draw on our Wi-Fi. We got, I don't know what they're called, repeaters throughout the house. It's been a little bit better, but it's a lot of draw on the Wi-Fi. And then kids just don't have access to technology. You know, they're trying to write essays on phones. Things like that is not great. Some don't even really have that, and they've borrowed some things from the school, but most of our stuff has been taken to the virtual schools. So we don't have things to give out. Comforting things. We tried really hard as a school to keep a lot of our stuff going, like spirit days and assemblies, even though they're virtual, and the GSA, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance and stuff like that, still having meetings.
As if to prove the point about the internet. Give her a second, see if it comes back. There you are, you're back.
There we go. Just what I was talking about. My
Yep.
internet connection is unstable and I'm the only one on it right now. And I live right in town. So anyway, that's, I don't know if I could, like I could speak all day about the challenges that we're facing. I think as a teacher, like the main things are that it's incredibly depressing when kids don't turn their cameras on and you speak to blank screens and mute microphones all day. You don't even know if they're there. So I've been begging my kids to turn their cameras on, but there's equity issues involved in that. You know, they don't always have a space to work. They've got little siblings or parents working from home right near them. They don't have their own space sometimes, or they don't want kids to see their home or hear what happens in their homes. So that is challenging. Anyway, comforting stuff, you know, we've done a great job of, I think that like my staff, my staff, not mine, my coworkers have done a great job of that pivot. We all hate that word now, but pivoting to online, like.
Oh, goodness. Must be bad in our neighborhood today, the internet.
Am I back?
You're back. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. This is what it's like for my kids in class too. So you're getting that experience. I'm just going to try to touch on the positive stuff. You know, we've really tried to pivot and be interesting and engaging online. I don't know if we've always succeeded for sure, but you know, we're trying, and it's, you know, as an educator, one of the things I love about teaching is that it's never the same. Every day is a little bit different. And so this is a new challenge, and that's kind of fun. Some of this stuff we'll pull into our classrooms later. A lot of it we won't. I found that a lot of students have done really well. Like they are probably not enjoying their lives, as many of us are not, but they've done it, you know, and I keep trying to emphasize with kids that they are building skills that nobody has had to build in the past. The resilience, their independence, their responsibility. No group of students I've ever taught has ever had to be this aware of the world, their role in the community, their own personal responsibility, you know, in the actions that they take or don't take more often, you know, to keep other people safe. All of that stuff I think is really great lessons. There's a lot of concern with kids that they're getting left behind, and I keep trying to emphasize to them that they're not really all in the same boat, but in some ways they're all in the same boat. There is no such thing as behind, really. Like, what kind of timeline are we on? Life is long. We'll try to deal with it and get them caught up. And I have friends who are university profs who are seeing the same thing in their students, and they're doing their best to keep them caught up. So, you know, trying to emphasize what this does offer them. They can be with their pets. They can be, you know, wearing their, what I call the school mullet, like something respectable on top to be on camera. And then you can wear your pajama pants if you want. You know, so there's been some positives, but it's, I've had a lot of support from parents and community, which is really great because it's an exhausting job right now. It often is, but it's an exhausting job without a lot of the rewards right now. So getting thank you notes from parents and things like that is really amazing, because otherwise you just cry your eyes out. And so that's been great. The support has been wonderful. Our school team has been good. And I enjoy being in my home. I'm lucky to have a lovely home with people I love and, you know, pets around me. And so I try to focus on that too. So anyway, oh my gosh, I really could talk all day, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to bore you to tears with all of this stuff. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Briar, that was spot on. Thank you very much. How about let's hear Ashlyn's perspective and then go into some general questions. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
Ashlyn, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, everyone. So I'll just go through a little bit about what my day looks like and the good things and bad things about virtual school. So we definitely have a whole unique set of challenges with school. I find like it's very, very different. So usually I have classes that either vary that start from 8:30 in the morning or 9:45. So my English class today doesn't start until 9:50, so I kind of have a big gap. So I usually prepare for my day, get all the things I need. It's the first day of our new quadmester, so I'm just going to go through where I'm supposed to be learning, because every class has a different place. So you might be learning on WebEx, or you might be learning on Google Classroom. It's very different. So I'll have breakfast, get dressed, all of those normal things. And then usually school ends around 2:30. We have a few 10-minute breaks in between there. We usually have a 15-minute lunch, which is pretty good. Most of our time is spent synchronously, which is really good. So that means we all learn together in front of the teacher. And then I usually have a few asynchronous periods during the week where we have independent work as well. I find that I have a lot less homework this year because I spend so much time in one class. So I'm in one class for 6 hours. So my teachers don't really see why I would need to be doing a lot of homework at night if I'm already doing work in that class, which is really good. Some good things about virtual school is I find that my teachers are very accommodating. I've had very awesome teachers this year so far. They all get back to the questions. They're all very accommodating. If I can't get an assignment on time because my Wi-Fi isn't working, or there's too many people on our internet, or my computer died, all of those things, they're very helpful. I enjoy doing school in the comfort of my own home. So I feel like I can get up, walk around, I can go get a snack, I can go to the bathroom when I want, which is very good. I feel like at school, it's very restrictive right now, so I'm very comfortable with that. I also find that I can work at my own pace on virtual school. So usually we have a deadline and we get that assignment way in advance. So I can do that work and make sure it gets done properly on time. I also find that sometimes I get a deeper understanding because my teachers are very accommodating and they do it very different ways. So I'll say, oh, I don't understand, and they explain it a different way, which is really awesome. The only thing that's different about understanding is I find that I can't really get your perspective, as the contact between my peers is very, very limited online because nobody really wants to unmute their microphone and talk over the teacher and like talk to each other. I also find that when I switched to VHS, I had a lot more course options because there were so many more people in virtual high school. I was in Bowmanville and like 5 of my classes got canceled before I was even in them. So I had to switch to virtual and I have a lot more courses. So I've been really enjoying virtual, but I'm also in a very lucky situation. I'm usually the only one at home when people are in school, which is really nice. So my internet is usually pretty good. I have my own laptop, which is really awesome. So it's very easy for me to go to virtual school. So I've really enjoyed it. Some cons, there's a lot of challenges sometimes. Sometimes working from home is very distracting. Sometimes people are dropping off packages. I have a dog who sometimes is very annoying and likes to get up all of my space. Sometimes there's Wi-Fi problems. I find whenever there's a storm, even if the teacher's Wi-Fi isn't working, it's a little bit frustrating and challenging. The social aspect of school is very, very different. Like I said, I had a math class first quadrimester and nobody turned on their mic the whole year. So everyone was just typing in the chat. So I didn't nobody spoke at all. We did breakout rooms. A lot of us were just sitting there in silence because nobody wanted to be the first one to interact, because in the virtual school, nobody knows anyone. We're all over KPR. So a lot of people I did not know in that class, which was very different for me. I miss a lot about talking to people at lunch, because in virtual school, you just log off, go have your lunch and then come back on. Same thing with the cameras. Nobody turns on their camera in virtual school, usually except the teacher. So we're just sitting in there listening to the teacher. I found it a bit awkward to start because nobody knows anyone. So we all don't really know what to expect with that teacher, because every teacher has a different style of online learning, which is really awesome. But it's a little bit different for students when they get into the first class not knowing exactly what they're getting into. But I feel like it's gotten a lot better with turning on their microphone, depending on the class. So I had French last quadrimester and I had my microphone on almost all the time, because obviously it's a linguistic class, so you have to have your microphone on. So that was a lot better, and a lot of people were more comfortable talking by second quadrimester. So I hope this quadrimester will be even better. But despite the challenges, I've really been enjoying online school so far. So when everyone goes back, I'm going to stay online for the rest of the year, I think. Just until next year, there's more things to do at school, because I really enjoy going to clubs, going to sports. Obviously, those things can't happen with COVID. So hopefully I'll be able to go back for my grade 12 year. Yeah, my teachers have been really awesome, and I've been really enjoying my time.
Thank you, Ashlyn.
So I'd be happy to answer anyone's questions if they had any.
Yes, I think there will be questions. Thank you both, Briar and Ashlyn. That was fantastic. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, my kids are all out of school now. Briar, my daughter, I don't know. Yeah, you're still there. You might know my daughter, Rachel Solway. I don't know if you remember her. She's living in the Netherlands now. So I will say hi from her to you. But I just have wondered if you have any advice for parents. You know, I know a lot, I'm looking around, a lot of us, our kids are grown, but a lot of us do have kids in school. Mm-hmm. And what advice do you have for parents? Also for Ashlyn, what advice would you have for parents in terms of how they could be helping their kids at school right now?
Ashlyn sounds like she's killing it. So I think that she sounds like she has a pretty good handle on a lot of it. I think that the general advice I've been giving to kids and parents is to try to create a schedule. So at school, kids are not in control of, or they're generally not in control of, where they're supposed to be at certain times. And when they're online, they are. And so I've been really encouraging kids to get up, get dressed, eat some breakfast, and show up to school, preferably with cameras on, because of that connection and stuff like Ashlyn was talking about. And from the teacher perspective, that is devastating for 6 hours a day, every day, to talk to nobody or feel like you are. But, you know, it gives the kids, first, mental health. We need that delineation in our day. Spending your whole day in your bed in your pajamas, like kids who are literally not getting out of bed and just staying in their pajamas in bed all day while they go to school online, is not healthy. It's not healthy for their bodies. We're finding that kids are not, I'm trying to get my students, I'm giving them 1 hour at lunch, so that I'm trying to get them to go outside and have a brief walk, even for 10 minutes, because they're not leaving their homes. They're not moving their bodies. And I mean, we focus on the physical health aspects of that, but mentally that is really damaging. So that I think is important. I had some of my students who self-reported to me. I had such an awesome class. They were great, but I had kids who self-reported, I have trouble because everything is on devices. So, you know, you're doing your schoolwork, but then Instagram's there, Snapchat's there, everything else is right there, and you're getting these notifications. So I advise them turn your notifications off and set some, if this is what works for you, set some alarms like the school bell going off. So now it's lunchtime. Now it's time to go back to class. Now it's time to work on whatever assignment. And that seemed to help some of them to just kind of outsource the schedule. And so I think for parents, like, to encourage their kids to set a schedule that they stick to is important, because otherwise just one day blurs into the next and life already kind of feels that way. And then other than that, just to be, you know, open with your kid's teacher, because it helps so much when I get a parent perspective. You know, we don't have parents' nights this year, but when a parent just says, hey, I just thought, I should let you know that this has been going on in our home, or that, you know, so-and-so tends to work better in this way. That's really, really helpful for us. I'm about to start a course in an hour with mostly kids I've never met, and we're starting online. So Ashlyn's had this experience and I haven't, because I started in person at the beginning of the year. So anyway, it's just encourage whatever social interaction they can get, and to move their bodies and to set a schedule so that they feel like it's as much like real school. It is real school. Like, there's no, I was very annoyed by the reporter asking if we were going to get rid of March break because the kids needed to catch up. Like, we've been doing this the whole year. There has been no break. Like, literally, Ashlyn can probably attest, like, it's not been a break. We have had to condense our courses because, as Ashlyn said, we're not doing a lot of homework. And when you do back to back, you lose a lot of time, but there's been no break. So, you know, the schedule thing, I think, is probably the most universal advice I can get. And then reach out to the teachers and just, you know, let them know if your kid has an issue, or you just want to give them an insight. Something like that can be really helpful to establish that personal connection.
Thank you, Briar.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think we got time for one more question here. Who's got a hand up? We're on two screens, so if I'm not seeing you, pipe up. No. Well, without another hand, Briar and Ashlyn, thank you so much. I see exactly what you've talked about happen every day with Vivian, and then, you know, back last spring with Billy as he closed out the year, and it breaks my heart. High school, listen, I hated class. Everyone who knew me in high school knows that I hated class. But man, oh man, I love school, and they're missing the best part of school as far as I can tell, and it hurts me to see that going on. But thank you for making the most of it, Ashlyn. Thanks for doing all you can to get your education, and Briar, thanks for making sure our kids continue to learn throughout this pandemic. We appreciate your time today. You're welcome to stay and see the rest of the meeting, or get on to your busy day. We know you've both got lots going on. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much.
I'm going to head out and prep my class.
Good luck.
Thank you both.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was really interesting. Good idea, Joe. Okay.
Actually, it was somebody else's idea. Wasn't it yours, Steve?
Okay, well, then it really was a good idea. So, all right, moving on. Doug, before we get to Happy Bucks, you've got something to do.
Yes, this morning I'd just like to, I'm thankful for the opportunity to recognize one of our members as a Paul Harris Fellow. And so just before I get into that, just a few comments about sort of the Paul Harris Fellow and kind of what's behind it, particularly for some of the newer members. So a Paul Harris Fellow is provided in a couple different ways. And the first way, well, maybe I'll just take a step back. So Rotary Foundation, just as a bit of a backdrop, was created like over 100 years ago. So it's this fund, an organization that supports projects around the world through various Rotary clubs. And its mission is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. And so essentially, they provide funds either through grants or what have you to different Rotary clubs to help various projects. And so kind of tied to that is the first fellow that can be given out is to various members of the community that as a result of their service and support of the mission that Rotary Foundation has, and that's provided by the club and or selected and then given by the club. And the key to that, though, is the club is able to do that because the club donates to the foundation. That's something that our club has been doing for a number of years. And so as a result of donations to the foundation, we're able to give out Paul Harris Fellows to recognize individuals in the community. The second way to for a Paul Harris Fellow to be given out is through direct donation by a Rotarian. And so the way that works is and it's the same sort of process, whether it's the club donating or whether it's an individual donating, that when you hit a certain amount of donation, it's $1,000, it translates into points, etc. And then those, the fellow is given out as a result. And again, as I say, it could be if the club donates, the club doesn't get the fellow, but they give the ability to give a fellow out, Paul Harris Fellow out. So that's kind of like my little background educational portion. But really the important part for this morning is we were wanting to recognize Rachel Boyd and to give her Paul Harris Fellow. And so very proud of to be able to do this. And I'll just read what the certificate says. So I have a certificate here for Rachel, as well as a pin. And it just says here that the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International, Rachel Joan Boyd is hereby named a Paul Harris Fellow in appreciation of tangible and significant assistance given for the furtherance of better understanding and friendly relations among peoples of the world. So Rachel, congratulations, very proud of you. And I'm honored to be able to give this to you, and we'll afterwards figure out a time and to get it to you. Congrats again.
Doug.
Congratulations, Rachel.
Congratulations. Well, thank you, Rachel. Your contributions to the foundation do good work, and I don't need to tell anyone on this call that. So thank you. Okay, we've got a couple minutes for Happy Bucks. Take one or two. Anyone got a Happy Buck for us? Put your hand up.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, at the end of last week, Thursday, I believe it was. Wednesday last week. My wife and I, we needed to go on an excursion. We were going nuts here. So another Rotarian and I communicated with each other. And of all places, we met in a parking lot in Newcastle with 2 lawn chairs, had a couple of coffees. We stayed 6 feet apart and a lot of laughs. I think I peed my pants once too. But by that time we came home, and it was just really nice to see them. It was a long, long time since we'd seen Wayne and his wife, Carol. So we really enjoyed it. And I'm really happy that Wayne and I are still friends. We haven't gone astray that way. So
I just, the only comment I would make on that is that Fred need to be trained as to how to drive through a drive-through at Tim Hortons, but he's more educated now.
I did drive through the drive-through and got there, and the lady says to me, "Sir, you didn't order anything." I said, "What are you talking about? Just give me a couple of coffees and a couple of honeydew." And she says, "No, you've got to use the microphone." So I felt like saying we don't have those things in the Ukraine, but I didn't. Anyway, they were nice enough, and she got a $2 tip, so that worked. Everybody was happy.
I like that, Fred. Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have any other happy bucks?
Well, I guess I have a happy buck, and reading the Rotarian magazine, I see that Africa is now polio free. All those years, it's unbelievable. Go back to the early 80s and here they are.
Excellent. Excellent. And Joe, and then we'll go on.
This is more of a tribute, Buck. Talking a couple of days ago, I've been trying to get in touch with her, and now I know why. Our good friend Bookie from who lives in Bowmanville, but is a member of the Oshawa Club. You know, she's a PSW. She has her own business, working as a PR person, but she's also, in order to keep the money coming in, she's a PSW. She's been working all over the place. And I found her this time. She's at that tender care in Scarborough, where 74 people have died. You know, and it's these kind of stories that, you know, we don't hear about, and people like Bookie really deserve, I mean, I don't know what, you know, certainly more money, but and sick pay. And, you know, she says that, you know, she has to keep working, you know, and this is what she does. This is how she earns her living. And there's, you know, there's thousands of bookies across the province, and thousands of them probably living here. So she's not here right now because she's probably working. So I just want to let her know I put out a happy buck on her behalf.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, moving on. We've got a bit of a new segment here. Joe's called it Career Day. We thought, in the spirit of Know Your Rotarian, we thought it'd be good to get to know a few Rotarians whose businesses or careers are changing, growing, whatever. So we're going to start this off. Joe's going to kind of interview Gord Wallace and tell us a little bit about IBW. So
there you go. Okay, so I'm just going to, I'm going to intro Gord. We're going to start out, yes, that's, as Steve said, the member whose head office is filled with maps of Bowmanville. Many of them are historical, some of them are on the walls, others are in boxes, and this member could literally tell you where your property begins and ends. Gord Wallace, CEO of IBW Surveyors. The company's roots go back to 1950 in Ajax. I think that's what it says on your website. Gord, it evolved from there, being founded as IBW by Ivan B. Wallace. Now, of course, headed by Ivan's son, our own Gord Wallace, who is the company's CEO. Offices throughout Ontario and are working across the province. Gord, thanks for doing this. I think you're on my second page. Are you there?
I'm here.
There you go. So what does a surveyor do? You know, you see people standing out there with those things. I guess you call them summits. I'm not sure. But what does a surveyor do?
Well, we do lots of things. We're there's a lot of different ways to describe the answer, and one of them is that we're engineers, but we're engineers mixed with law, and the engineers may not like the surveyors saying that they're engineers, and the lawyers don't like us saying that we're lawyers. But we're really neither. We're just a mix between the two things. And what we do is we're the only ones that have the ability to put to give a professional opinion on where a property line is. We actually don't mark out property lines. We actually give our opinion as to where the property lines are. As well, we create new property lines through severances or plans of subdivision, condominiums, that sort of thing. So that's what we do generally. And it's transits that we use. Now,
those transits, there you stand out in the middle of nowhere, or everywhere, or the middle of everywhere. So there's a video on your website. You know, it's public. You say you worked on surveying in the summer, and you didn't. I'm going to say you didn't actually take to it right away, but now you love it. What is it you love about surveying?
Well, I thought of a reason for that, Joe. You know, when I was younger, I just really wanted to play basketball, which for most of us isn't really a good career choice, especially for me. And then I wanted to coach basketball. Again, that's for any of you young people out there, that's a very enjoyable career choice, but also a very bad one. I learned that through some epiphany while I was coaching basketball that surveying is really kind of cool. Why? Not sure. It's a very unique industry. It's fulfilling, and I learned to find that I had some skills in it. So I think once you've learned that you've got a bond with it, then then it makes it interesting for you.
You have, as I was saying, you have like, you probably know like where every property line should or may end in Bowmanville, where mine ends and my neighbor's begins. Why are surveyors like important to me? You know, like why is what you do important in the grand scheme of things, you think?
Well, I was thinking about maybe we're not important to you, Joe, because I don't think we've ever marked out your property line since your house was built. But for those that you know, need severances or need to know, I think one of my most fantastic stories is when one of our Rotarian friends was building a garage very close to their property line. I thought it might be a good idea to mark out that property line so that he doesn't build a garage on his neighbor's property. That's a clear example of where we can help people. There's lots. I just don't know it's going to be applicable to. We do lots of really weird and wild things. Today, one of my field crews is in Brockville at a psychiatric hospital doing a LiDAR scan of the, I believe, of the subsurface tunnels that they have there. That's interesting if you're doing it.
Would you rather be out in the field with a summit, like in the woods somewhere, or would you rather be in your office?
I would rather be at that psychiatric hospital. In a minute.
So you
and then which is even funnier for some people is I would so much rather be out in the field rather than being interviewed as to my career choices.
There you go. Okay, so
it'll fantastic.
It'll get easier now. You got projects all over Ontario, as I said. Last week, Rebecca talked about one of them in Port Hope. One that caught my eye was you're doing a subway in Toronto. What is that?
We did a subway in Toronto. We did the York University subway extension. And what we did was our goal wasn't to mark out or map out the subway tunnel. We did the quality control as the tunnel was already built. We made sure that it was straight and level and all that, and basically checking the other surveyors' work is what we were doing.
Which is kind of important because there's a train and there's people on it. And so that's important. So one last question. I have heard that surveyors all over the world share a classified secret that the Earth is actually flat. Can you confirm or deny that?
I would like to believe that it is.
Okay.
I did try very hard to become a member of the Flat Earth Society. There is I'm sure Lyle's a member of that. Is that not true, Lyle?
I've been to Brimstone Head in Newfoundland, which is one of the four corners of the flat Earth. So I have looked over the edge of the flat Earth.
Yeah. So it's definitely still under investigation.
Well, that's what I've heard, that you guys are involved. It's kind of like, you know, the QAnon thing, but you guys are not as violent with it.
I will say that for a little bit of sound education is that while the Earth may not be flat, it's also not round. It's more like a lumpy potato.
Excellent.
And on that note,
Joe and Gord, thank you. That was good. That worked out pretty well. I really liked it.
Thank you, Gord.
And it was my garage, everyone. Gord came over and unannounced, surveyed my property for me, and got into an argument with my neighbor. So that was good. Okay, moving on. We've got our community update. Dennis or Denis.
Good morning. I was taken a bit surprised when I got the email from Joe. And I thought, oh, community, what can we talk about? But then I realized that our company, Garden Street Wealth Longevity Management, we've been doing an event that some people are familiar with, which has been the Vine Affair. And it started out as a one-off. My partner is Mark Nadeau, who is also a world-level wine expert. When he worked, and it all started for him when he worked for Rothschild's Bank in France, and was asked to do a business project involving Rothschild's vineyards. And from there, as they say, the rest is history. And so about 2010, we got to know Derek Lung and Chantrell's. And Mark and Derek became friends. They had a lot in common, you know, having worked all over the world and so on. And so one day Mark calls me and says, look, let's do an event for the Hospital Foundation in Bowmanville. And so we talked to Derek, and the first event was in his original restaurant, which was on King Street. And we had about 35 people come out that night. And it was the tail end of a bad winter storm, because we did this event generally in January. We found that was kind of a month that we could do it. And it went off. And over the years, we've raised over 150,000 for the foundation, and we average out at around 10 to 12,000 each event until 3 years ago, when a gentleman called me over and said the evening was winding down. This is the community for you. The evening's winding down. We have about 50 people on average. Tickets are $175, and we left it there, but 100% of the ticket goes to the foundation. And more equally and more important is Derek Lung and Chantrell's do not charge for what they do, which means the food, staffing, the restaurant itself is all free. So every dollar that's raised goes to the foundation. And a gentleman calls me over to his table and says, we didn't raise enough money tonight. And we were kind of pleased. We were a little bit ahead of the previous year, so we felt good about that. And he says, look, I'll match dollar for dollar every contribution from now till the last person leaves the restaurant. So I made the announcement and I said, oh, by the way, this has nothing to do with the auction. What this is if you a minimum $20 charitable donation, you will receive a tax receipt. Unfortunately, the tickets, when we consulted with the accountant, said no, because of the dinner, the wines, there's value for the price. We winded up that night hitting a record. We made about, I think, just under 17,000. Last year, we did it again, the event, and his widow attended. And I said to her, I said, listen, would you mind if we toast Tom Campbell, your husband? And she said, oh, that'd be great. I said, you know, and unbeknownst to me, she had also agreed to match dollar for dollar, but she took it from the auction on. So the end result was with the matching that came out, we came in again at around 10,000, 11,000, but by the time we finished with the matching, we raised just under 23,000 last year for the foundation. So we kind of feel good about that, and we carried on. It started out as a one-off. Let's just do this event. So the community really comes to the party, if you will. So that's one thing that Garden Street Wealth Longevity Management does as a business. So we're quite pleased with that. So there we are.
There I am talking in mute. Thank you, Dennis. I didn't know that. And that's exactly the type of thing we're looking for in these community updates. Something going on in the community that you think Rotarians would like or need to know about, but probably don't. So cheers. Okay, down to just our announcements. First off, I forgot something really important to Briar. So I've sent for Briar and for Ashlyn. So I've sent a note off. A few weeks ago, we realized that we weren't doing, there wasn't a presidential budget to give out speaker gifts as a thank you for taking time to come speak to our club. So a few committees afforded me a budget, and they peeled out a few $100 from each of their budgets. And I've chosen something through the youth committee to make a weekly donation to. There's a program going on at Bowmanville High School where they're making kind of mental health survival packs. I can't remember the exact name of it, but that's close enough to what they are that we'll stick with that. Stress balls and treats and notebooks and that sort of thing, things to help get kids through this. And as the school recognizes that there's someone struggling, they're giving these small gifts to them just as a way to put a smile on their face. So each week from here to the end of the year, our speaker gift from our club to the speaker is a donation, basically, to provide one of these gift packs to a student that's struggling through the pandemic, or just life in general, quite frankly. So I've made sure that Briar knows that. I'll have Rhonda tell Ashlyn that, Joe. So we're going to be doing that every week, and I promise not to forget to tell the teacher or the speaker that anymore. As I say, I always screw up at least once in a meeting, and that's this week. Next, I've got a challenge request for all of you. Our club has 57,000 points, Paul Harris points saved up. And 1,000 equals, it's $1,000, a dollar per point sort of thing. So with those 57,000 points, we have the ability to give away up to 57 Paul Harris Fellows. And I don't know what we're waiting for, quite frankly. So we're gonna use at least 10,000 of those, and I'm looking for people to nominate recipients, very specific recipients. We typically use the Paul Harris Fellow as a Lifetime Achievement Award when we're giving it to community members. And that's a great way to use it. But I want to use it slightly different in this case. We're going through a pandemic like none of us have ever experienced before, where people are experiencing financial, health, emotional hardships like we've never experienced before in the Western world anyways. And there are people out there that are everyday heroes, working quietly, not looking for praise, just out there doing good for good's sake. And I want our club to give away 10 Paul Harris Fellows, at least, to some of these everyday heroes of the pandemic. So please send Fred Mandrick and I your nominations. And the Paul Harris Fellow Committee, with the support of our foundation chair, Doug, will make a determination on which of the recipients, or maybe all of the recipients, get them, because if we have 12 really solid ones, we're not going to hold it at 10, I don't think. Send those in to us by email, please, with a couple sentences on who they are and why. Okay. Lyle, yes.
Can you recommend an organization rather than an individual?
So we certainly can. There's a certificate of merit or something like that. I'm getting the name wrong. That you can recommend an organization. They don't get a Paul Harris Fellow pin or award, but they do get recognized. So and it costs the same number of points. It's 1,000 points. So Lyle, you made a recommendation about Lake Ridge Health. Submit that to. Well, we'll consider that submitted already because you sent me an email. Okay.
Well, I can send it in again.
Okay. Fantastic.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, so there's that. we're coming up to the bottom of the hour. April 24th, district-wide, I think multi-district, there's going to be a Great Lakes cleanup. So I've got a couple ideas that I'm going to put to the board next week about what we can do on April 24th, 2 days after Earth Day, to participate in this Great Lakes cleanup as a club. And finally, mark on your calendars, June 25th is online district conference. More information will be coming out on that. They're going to try and run a district conference that's a little bit in person if we can do that, but mostly online. So watch for that. And with that, we're over to Camille with a quote of the week.
Hey guys. So I thought this was fitting because it's Black History Month and this is my absolute favorite person right now. So this is a quote from Michelle Obama. You may not always have a comfortable life and you will not always be able to solve all of the world's problems at once, but don't ever underestimate the importance you can have, because history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own.
Thank you, Camille. I love that. Really good. Okay, now, if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, remember, in the things that you say and you do, our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all? With that, have yourselves a great week. And we'll talk soon, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Stay well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Have a great week.
Okay.